Good day, YouTube. Wanted to go over my choice of survival knife here. This is the Ontario-made U.S. Air Force survival knife. This knife has been around since days of Vietnam, and I picked it up because I've seen the K-bars. I had a cold steel Tonto knife. I didn't like it much. Seemed a little too big for my liking, so I got rid of it. Picked up one of these. This has, a 5-inch blade, serrated edge, and the reason the Air Force and military came up with this, and their knives still have this today, is if the pilot had to saw through aircraft aluminum or the hard acrylic windows, that's what this was for. Very hefty here, very thick, make a very good hammer. The two holes are for if you needed to attach it to a long wooden stick, make a spear out of it, so on and so forth. The blade is 5 inches long. It was pretty sharp when I got it. Most of them, I've seen a few of them that guys complain about the edge on them. I did throw a little finer edge on this. I did sharpen this up more. It was good out of the box for a basic knife, but I decided to throw a little more of an edge on it, and I like the way it is now. I like my knives to be as sharp as I can get them, but not so sharp that if you cut a few things, you lose that edge and have to go ahead and sharpen them. They do come with a sharpening stone in that pouch. It does come with one. That's a nice little touch to this. And it's a nice knife. Again, it's 5-inch blade. It's got a lot of heft to it. It really does. It doesn't look it. Nice leather, stacked leather handle. Very, very sturdy. And moving on to the scabbard, this piece here on the back was riveted to the sheath. And he came up with that because if the pilot had to jump out of the plane and he hit the ground, he wouldn't send the knife blade through the sheath into his body. So that's pretty hefty. And I can't take credit for this. I've seen someone else on YouTube that did this, so I can't take credit for this. I did a little differently than him, though. There's about 20 feet of fishing line and 4 hooks in here, and they're wrapped up, and the hooks are taped so in a way so that they won't poke through anything. But there's 4 hooks and some fishing line. I also threw on a few sinkers. Again, that was someone else's idea, but I found it was a nice idea, so I carried it on to mine. It's a nice little thought. Paracord, I got 2 different lengths. Adds up to about 30 feet overall. Wrap it around there. It's tied pretty well. It's not coming off. And the one thing I did throw on there is I threw on a compass. You never know when you're going to need a good compass, so I threw that on there. That's not coming off. These are strike anywhere matches. I'm going to get a couple ferrules. I'm going to probably try something a little different here, but strike anywhere matches. These are the correct strike anywhere. I tested one of them, and they work on anything. Anything that's thick. I actually used it on the side of my gun safe and lit one of these right up first try. And these matches are a few years old, but they do the job. But this knife, you can get them for around $40-45. Brand new. And Ontario dates their knives when they're made. I ran across one that said 1980 the other day. This one's dated for 2011. It says 311. I'm assuming, don't quote me on that, it's Ontario and it says 311. I'm assuming it's 2011. The one thing I will say is be careful of copies of these. They are out there. If you've held on to one of these enough and you pick up the reproductions, you can feel it. The reproductions are a little lighter. They don't seem to be quite as sturdy as this. Also, what I will say is you don't need a different knife. These things I've seen them all day long on eBay, brand new, from Ontario for under $50. You don't need a different knife. This knife will do everything you ask of it. It's a very tough knife. You don't need the big long K-bars. A great knife. Don't get me wrong, K-bar is a great knife. But you don't need something that big. This will do everything you want it to do. Because if you need to, and I would not hesitate to gut and clean a deer with this. I haven't tried a fish. I'm going to. I'm going to try to clean a fish with this. See how well that works. I'm assuming it'll work quite well, but it depends on the size of the fish, too. Small fish, you might actually end up butchering most of it. But if you're in a survival situation, you're really not going to care about all that. The big K-bars are kind of unwieldy for stuff like that. This is a better knife overall. You don't even notice this thing on your hip. You pack it, you carry it, even with all this stuff on there. This is still fairly light. You don't notice this. Go out, find yourself one of these knives. Again, you can get them for under $50. This one I bought a couple years ago. I believe I paid $45, and that was with the shipping. You don't need a $200 knife to do what this knife will do. You don't need a Rambo knife to do what this knife will do. This is the most practical survival knife on the market today. Go out, grab yourself one. They're out there. They're cheap. But again, beware of the reproductions. Go out and grab yourself one. Save yourself some money. Put it towards your bug out gear, your other survival gear, whatever. Get a couple of these if you want. Don't spend a lot of money. These are a good knife for what they are. They'll do everything you ask of it. Don't waste your money on higher end gear. You don't need it. This is good enough for the military. It's good enough for you. So there you go, YouTube. That's the U.S. Air Force survival knife made by Ontario. Go out, look them up. Great knife for the money. Find yourself one. Get a couple if need be. And keep your powder dry, because you're probably going to need it eventually the way things are going. Have a good day and have a good afternoon.